The world we are about to enter is not the pastoral canvas of green fields and gentle streams that our modern eyes are accustomed to. It is a fever dream of extreme survival, a crucible of heat and water, ice and isolation, the Mesozoic Era, the long, violent reign of the dinosaurs. And in this world, there are no easy victories, only the relentless, grinding necessity of adaptation. Our journey begins in a place where the line between land and water has dissolved, the sprawling, choking, swampy expanses of the Cretaceous. These were not quiet marshes, but chaotic, waterlogged domains where life was perpetually fighting the pull of the mud. A landscape defined by treacherous buoyancy and hidden depths. A massive shadow glides through the murky water, its colossal form cutting through the dense vegetation. This is the realm of Spinosaurus, the greatest semi-aquatic predator to ever walk the earth, or rather, swim it. Its powerful tail, newly revealed by the fossil record, propelled it with the force of a battering ram, and its long, crocodilian snout, lined with sharp, interlocking teeth, was the perfect instrument for snatching huge fish from the river systems. It was a predator perfectly engineered to dominate the water, its immense size supported by the very buoyancy of its domain. The water was its weapon, its ally, and its hunting ground. Yet even in this lush habitat, survival was a tightrope walk. Further inland, navigating the waterlogged terrain, lumbered the giants of the marsh. Consider the sheer, heartbreaking challenge faced by animals like the long-armed, bizarre Dinosaurus. This colossal ornithomimosaur, a terrible hand, was an evolutionary oddity, standing like a feathered, humped camel with massive, shovel-like claws on its forelimbs, likely used for scooping up vegetation or pulling itself through the viscous mud. Its unique adaptations were not for fighting, but for existing in a world constantly threatening to pull it under. Think of the smaller, but equally burdened, mud-trapped Tubingosaurus, another resident of this watery maze. Every step was a calculation, a battle against the Earth itself, proving that even the most abundant environments demand a specialized key for survival. But the Mesozoic was also a time of stark contrast. The very act of the supercontinent Pangaea breaking apart created an entirely different and arguably more hostile environment, the scorched, unforgiving, arid sands of the desert. We now travel east to the Cretaceous heart of what is now the Gobi Desert. Here, the landscape is defined by extremes, scorching daylight that turns the sand into a burning mirror and nights that plunge into a bone-aching cold. Water is a myth, and shade is a treasured commodity. How could life, even the famously resilient dinosaurs, conquer such an inferno? It did so through a quiet, specialized defiance. Meet the Protoceratops, the first horned face, a hardy herbivore. Though not a giant, its frill acted as a crucial piece of thermal architecture, regulating its internal temperature by radiating heat away from its core. Its compact body and powerful beak allowed it to efficiently process the tough, xeric vegetation that managed to cling to life. It was a creature designed to wait, to endure, to outlast the sun's cruelty. And then there was the bizarre, whisper-thin predator of the night, Shuvuya, a tiny alveosaur with an owl-like skull and massive orbits. Its enormous eyes were a direct adaptation to the desert's nocturnal rhythm. It shunned the daylight, emerging under the cover of the stars to hunt insects and small prey, its body a collection of avian traits, hinting at the future of its lineage. This creature, no bigger than a modern turkey, endured the bitter, wind-whipped desert nights, evolving unique mechanisms, potentially including specialized nasal passages to conserve moisture, to thrive where all other life was parched and driven to shelter. story of segment 1 is simple. As the world diversified, so did its rulers. Dinosaurs proved that their dominion was not limited to lush jungles. They could conquer even the least hospitable corners of the planet, from the oppressive, waterlogged gloom of the swamps to the scorching, wind-scoured heart of the desert. Survival is not about strength alone. It is about the poetry of precision adaptation. The engine of evolution doesn't just work through massive environmental pressures. It also works through isolation and geography. Evolution, as we see in this segment, loves to take strange turns in isolated and freezing environments. Let us travel first to the ancient, geographically unique realm of Hateg Island, a Cretaceous haven in what is now Romania. When a population of animals is cut off from the mainland, resources become finite and competition intensifies. In a process known as insular dwarfism, the largest animals in the ecosystem actually shrink over generations to survive on a limited food supply. On Hateg, this phenomenon created true pint-sized titans. The titanosaurs, the largest animals to ever exist, were reduced to the almost comical scale of the Nanuqsaurus. Imagine a sauropod, a creature whose mainland cousins weighed 80 tons, now standing barely the size of a modern rhinoceros. This dwarfism was not a flaw. It was a masterful survival strategy, ensuring that the limited greenery of the island could support a viable, reproducing population. Isolation didn't kill these titans, it refined them into smaller, more efficient versions of their former selves. But perhaps the most profound challenge faced by the dinosaurs was not lack of space, but lack of light and heat. We must now turn our attention to the high latitudes of Alaska and Antarctica, where dinosaurs faced the grueling, terrifying challenge of polar nights. For months at a time, the sun vanished below the horizon, plunging the world into a perpetual twilight, and temperatures dropped far below freezing. For decades, scientists assumed that all dinosaurs migrated, fleeing the cold like modern birds. But fossil evidence suggests otherwise. It tells a far more compelling, gritty story of year-round residency and absolute defiance of the frost. Take, for example, the polar bear lizard Nanuqsaurus. Found in Alaska, this tyrannosaur was smaller than its southern cousin, T. rex, another example of regional specialization. But its adaptation went deeper. Its bone structures, the density and growth patterns, and the presence of other year-round residents like Edmontosaurus indicate a population that didn't hibernate but adapted to the persistent cold. They evolved thick coats of insulating feathers. They possessed circulatory systems capable of maintaining crucial internal heat. And in the depths of polar Australia, we find the enchanting and resilient Leolinosaura. This small ornithopod possessed disproportionately large eyes, an evolutionary necessity for gathering the scant light available during the endless months of twilight. Its entire existence was a testament to enduring the dark. Similarly, the crested theropod Cryolophosaurus, the frozen crest lizard, found in Antarctica, demonstrated that even apex predators could stake a claim in the polar realms, their physical traits, like that distinctive bony crest, perhaps playing a role in mating displays during the brief, frantic polar summer. From the tiny, isolated Majurosaurus to the cold-defying Nanuqsaurus, Segment 2 demonstrates the ultimate resilience of the dinosaurian world. They didn't just survive in the tropics, they colonized the globe from the tropics to the freezing poles, their diversity an unbreakable testament to life's refusal to be limited by geography or climate. The history of life is not a straight line of improvement. It is an experimental workshop, a high-stakes, billion-year-long freak show. During the dinosaur age, this evolutionary process produced an unparalleled array of bizarre and flamboyant creatures. This segment is dedicated to the oddballs of the fossil record, the proof that nature's imagination is boundless. Evolutionary necessity often collides with sheer aesthetic audacity, and the result is a breathtaking menagerie of design. Let's begin with a creature that seems to defy the very concept of a majestic reptile, Ankylosaurus, the buck-toothed herbivore. Discovered in China, this theropod, a member of the lineage that gave rise to T-Rex, had a highly unusual specialization. Its most prominent features were two enormous, rodent-like incisor teeth protruding from its jaw. Instead of the sharp, carnivorous teeth you'd expect, it had these buck teeth, suggesting a diet geared toward gnawing on tough vegetation, perhaps even seeds or nuts. It was a feathered dinosaur that looked less like a fearsome monster and more like a colossal, reptilian beaver. It showcases how quickly form follows function, turning a carnivorous frame into a highly specialized herbivore's tool. Then we turn to the ultimate in defensive ostentation, Kentrosaurus. This stegosaur took the iconic armor of its family and ramped it up to an almost deadly extreme. While its cousin, Stegosaurus, had broad plates and four-tailed spikes, Kentrosaurus was a walking weapon rack, sporting a deadly array of spikes running almost the entire length of its body, from its shoulders down to a wickedly long pair of spikes jutting from its tail, the thagomizer. Every encounter with a predator was a calculus of pain, its armor a clear and undeniable warning. Approach at your own risk. But the oddness doesn't stop with teeth and spikes. It continues up the neck of the sauropod Ankylosaurus. Unlike the smooth, graceful necks of its giant kin, this Argentinian sauropod sported a structure so unique it looks like something designed for a Jurassic punk rock concert. A double row of extremely tall, paired neural spines that likely supported a high, stiff punk rock neck sail. Was it a device for heat regulation or a visual deterrent? Most compellingly, it was probably a flamboyant display structure, a towering signal of health and vitality to potential mates, demonstrating that even the largest herbivores valued fashion and signaling. Evolutionary spectacle reached its peak with creatures designed purely for visual impact. Imagine the magnificent Uberajara, a smaller, fast-running theropod discovered in Brazil. Its fossil showed evidence of ribbon-like, elongated keratinous structures protruding from its shoulders, ribbon-like shoulder structures for display. These weren't functional for flight or defense. They were pure advertisement, a flashy banner waved in the face of rivals and potential partners.
The Kentrosaurus was well equipped to defend itself.
And finally, we find the jewel of this segment, Keihong, a tiny flyer whose name means rainbow in Mandarin. This small, feathered dinosaur provided direct fossil evidence of iridescent, rainbow-colored feathers. Its preserved melanosomes were shaped in a way that would have refracted light, meaning Keihong glittered and shimmered like a hummingbird as it darted through the Cretaceous forest. From the fierce agility of the small, feathered dinobelator, a raptor with unique adaptations in its tail vertebrae for increased stiffness and stability while hunting, to the sheer, bizarre scale of Gigantoraptor, a bird-like dinosaur the size of a modern elephant with a turtle-like beak capable of crushing vegetation. These species showcase the experimental and often flamboyant nature of Mesozoic evolution. They remind us that nature's genius is often found in its most unconventional and unexpected designs. In the savage, ceaseless game of predator and prey, evolution launched a fierce arms race. The result of this relentless pressure was the family Ankylosauridae, the most heavily armored, indomitable tanks of the ancient world. This segment traces their evolutionary journey from rudimentary defense to ultimate walking fortress. The need for armor became paramount in a world dominated by increasingly massive and powerful tyrannosaurids and giant carnosaurs. The solution was the development of osteoderms, bony plates embedded in the skin, which fused and thickened over millions of years. The lineage begins with primitive ancestors, the first blueprints for the ultimate war machine. Consider the Moroccan Spicamelus, a creature that shows us the earliest stages of this arms race. Its distinguishing feature was its defense. Spikes fused directly to its bones, an integrated armor system rather than just skin-based plates. It was crude, but effective, a clear statement that the evolutionary path for this family was toward total, unyielding defense. From these simple beginnings, the armor grew more sophisticated. We track its global spread, observing transitional forms like Minmi in Australia. Minmi was smaller and more lightly built, yet it possessed a complex arrangement of plates and bony studs over its body, an indication of the emerging transitional stages of the full ankylosaur design. But the zenith of this evolutionary defense system is the famous Ankylosaurus itself. This massive defender was not just armored, it was a biological fortress designed for maximum survivability. Let's explore the anatomy of this living tank. The protection began at the front. The complex cranial plates and triangular head of Ankylosaurus were not just for show. The dense, bony shield covering its skull could withstand enormous forces, protecting the most vulnerable part of its body. The head was broad, often acting like a shovel to forage for low-lying plants, while simultaneously serving as a blunt shield against an attacking predator's bite. The body was sheathed in a mosaic of interlocking osteoderms, arranged like medieval chainmail, but made of solid bone. This carapace was so effective that a predator would have found no weak point, turning the dinosaur into a slow-moving, unassailable mound of rock and keratin. But the Ankylosaurus was not merely passive. Its defense included a terrible weapon, a signature of the family's success, the devastating tail club. This was not simply a clump of bone. It was a complex, specialized weapon formed by several fused, enlarged osteoderms at the tip of the tail, often backed by interlocking caudal vertebrae that provided immense stiffness. The force generated by a swing of this weapon was incredible, capable of shattering bone, a clear message delivered at high speed to the shins of any would-be attacker. It was the ultimate deterrent, turning the prey into a lethal counterattacker. The story continues with other armored cousins, like the magnificent Borylopelta found in Canada. This specimen was so perfectly preserved that scientists could discern its natural pigment, revealing it was a reddish color and possessed a sophisticated form of countershading, meaning even these behemoths still utilized camouflage to avoid detection. It illustrates how these herbivores developed increasingly sophisticated armor and weaponry to survive against the constant threat of apex predators, winning the arms race by becoming, essentially, an impregnable mobile weapon. For generations, the Tyrannosaurus rex has reigned supreme in our imagination, a scaly, cold-blooded monster of brute force, a direct descendant of the fearsome lizards of old. But science, through the painstaking work of paleontology, has a far more revolutionary and perhaps humorous truth to reveal. This segment is dedicated to shattering the image of the Tyrannosaurus rex as a scaly monster and exploring the deep, astonishing evolutionary link between theropods and modern birds. The revolution began not with T-Rex, but with an ancient creature whose discovery sparked a century of debate, Archaeopteryx, a feathered creature from the Jurassic. Its body held the undeniable presence of feathers, yet its skeleton was reptilian, possessing teeth and a long, bony tail. It was the first missing link, but the connection remained tantalizingly vague. The true breakthrough came with the work of paleontologist John Ostrom in the late 1960s, focusing on the swift, deadly Deinonychus. Ostrom's observations of this terrible claw suggested something radical. These dinosaurs were not the sluggish, cold-blooded reptiles of popular culture. Their anatomy, their specialized claws, and their active predation strategies pointed toward warm-bloodedness and high intelligence. The idea of the dinosaur changed fundamentally, from lizard to something far more active and bird-like. The story culminates back with the king. The narrative explains how anatomical similarities between theropods and birds are so profound that they cannot be ignored. Consider the wrist bones. The semilunate carpal, a crescent-shaped bone in the wrist, is unique to birds and their closest theropod relatives, allowing for the characteristic folding motion of a bird's wing. This bone is present in Tyrannosaurus rex. Next, the respiratory system. Modern birds have an incredibly efficient one-way breathing system using air sacs that extend deep into their bones. Evidence of these respiratory air sacs, in the form of pneumatic features within the vertebrae and ribs, is also seen in the skeletons of T-Rex and its relatives. The mighty tyrant likely breathed like a bird, making its existence one of high metabolism and constant energy. And perhaps the most compelling, tangible proof came from a fortunate fossil. The discovery of medullary bone in a T-Rex, a tissue rich in calcium deposited in the limb bones of female birds just prior to egg-laying, confirmed beyond any doubt that the skeletal biology of the fearsome predator was virtually indistinguishable from that of an egg-laying bird. The fearsome predator is a close relative of the chicken. The implication of this is profound and utterly transformative. We must posit that if dinosaurs hadn't gone extinct, the T-Rex's descendants might have continued this evolutionary path, resulting in creatures that resembled giant, fluffy poultry, perhaps with the razor wit of a crow and the lethal power of their ancestors. The story of T-Rex is not a dead end of reptilian history. It is a vital, living part of avian evolution. In a world ruled by apex predators, survival often demands not just strength, but an ingenious ecological strategy. The classic image of the Tyrannosaurus rex and its relatives is that of a bone-crushing apex predator, relying on sheer mass and devastating bite force to subdue massive, slow-moving herbivores. But this is only half the story.
While vastly different in scale, the anatomical parallels, particularly
The full
in legs
picture,
and posture,
which has only
are
recently been
undeniable.
illuminated, reveals that their offspring occupied a completely different and entirely necessary ecological niche. This segment focuses on the groundbreaking study of a young Gorgosaurus fossil. This specimen, a juvenile tyrannosaurid, was discovered with the remarkably preserved remains of its last meals in its stomach cavity. Two small, turkey-sized dinosaurs, specifically Sittypes. This is more than a fascinating anecdote. It clarifies the concept of ontogenetic shift,
Life in
a massive
predation
change
period is
in lifestyle
brutal.
and diet
This young
as an
Gorgosaurus
animal
must feed
matures
constantly to
within the
fuel its rapid
tyrannosaur
growth
lineage.
into an apex predator. With raw force, the juvenile Gorgosaurus rips flesh from the hatchling carcass. Its powerful
Unlike
jaws
the adults, who possessed massive, heavy skulls designed to crush bone and hunt huge prey, the juvenile tyrannosaurids were agile and speedy. Their teeth were blade-like, designed for slicing flesh, not shattering skeletons. Their bodies were lean, their legs long, making them masters of a high-speed chase. The reason for this dramatic shift is simple, brutal, and utterly logical: to avoid competition with their parents. If the young Gorgosaurus had hunted the same prey as its massive mother and father, they would have been in direct, deadly competition for resources. The adults would have crushed them, or the ecosystem would have failed to sustain 2 generations hunting the same large prey. Instead, the smaller tyrannosaurs filled the crucial role of mesopredator, the mid-sized hunter in their ecosystem. They patrolled the underbrush, utilizing their speed and agility to take down small, quick-moving prey. They efficiently managed the population of small herbivores, creating an entirely separate but equally important food chain. This finding proves that the tyrannosaur family transformed drastically as they matured. They evolved from nimble hunters of small prey into heavy-hitting crushers, occupying multiple ecological roles throughout their lifespan. A baby T-Rex was not just a small version of the adult. It was a completely different animal, biologically engineered to thrive in a separate section of the food web, ensuring the survival of its entire magnificent lineage. We end our journey not in the distant past, but in the realm of human speculation and self-reflection. The dinosaur has captured the imagination of humanity like no other animal, sparking an enduring fascination with human-dinosaur coexistence. It is imperative that we, as storytellers and truth-seekers, start with a clarity. Non-avian dinosaurs and humans are separated by a temporal chasm of millions of years. This segment must debunk creationist myths and misinterpretations of fossil footprints, such as the infamous Paluxy River tracks, which are often cited as proof of coexistence. The science is absolute. The age of the great, non-flying dinosaurs ended 66 million years ago. Our primate ancestors were, at that time, tiny shrew-like creatures scurrying in the shadows. There was no overlap. However, the narrative immediately acknowledges a profound truth that changes our perspective. Birds are technically surviving dinosaurs. The branch of the theropod family that survived the cataclysm continues to fly and thrive today. This means that we interact with dinosaurs daily, from the crow on the wire to the chicken on the farm. Their history is our present. Now let's step beyond the factual and enter the most compelling space of all, speculative fiction. The extinction event, the impact of the Chicxulub asteroid, was the ultimate evolutionary reset button. The summary posits a deeply thought-provoking scenario. Had the asteroid missed Earth, mammals might never have risen to dominance. The age of the mammals, our own age, would have been brutally suppressed. Instead, the highly intelligent, small theropods like the troodontids, with their large brains, specialized binocular vision, and close relation to the survivors of the lineage, would have continued to evolve. Over 66 million more years of evolutionary pressure, they might have developed increased manual dexterity, a loss of the tail, and an upright stance, an advanced form of hominid-like dinosaur. This path would have led to the evolution of intelligent dinosauroids, feathery, bipedal creatures that could have reached sapience. Imagine the world they would have created, a world where they did indeed build civilizations, mastering tools and fire. Their cities might have been vast, airy structures designed to accommodate their delicate bone structure, their culture based on speed, vision, and the deep, instinctual knowledge passed down from their ancestors. It would be a world where humans never had the chance to emerge, a truly alien and yet scientifically plausible alternate history. This final thought is the grand lesson of our dinosaur journey. Evolution is contingent. It is not a ladder heading inevitably toward us. It is a vast, tangled bush, and our existence is utterly dependent on a catastrophic cosmic accident. The reign of the dinosaurs, a 160 million year epic of survival, resilience, and bizarre beauty, teaches us the grand, sweeping cruelty and glory of natural law. The dinosaurs showed us the absolute necessity of adaptation. From the Nanuqsaurus shrinking to survive, to the T-Rex changing its diet to ensure its children lived, and the Nanuqsaurus defying the ice. Each segment is a testament to life's unyielding will to find a way. The only true threat is stagnation. The only guaranteed path to survival is the flexibility to become something new. We have journeyed through swamps, deserts, islands, and ice. We have witnessed the ultimate armor and the ultimate feather. The story of the dinosaur is the story of life itself, often cruel, always magnificent, and forever changing. Thank you for exploring this magnificent world with me. May you find the strength and adaptability of a polar dinosaur in your own life. If you found this exploration of evolution's extremes as fascinating as I did, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the astonishing history of life on Earth.